With YouTube attacking alternative media, please consider supporting the channel via Patreon for just $1 per month. Link below. So a couple days ago, news broke that Google is accused in a lawsuit of excluding white and Asian men in hiring in order to boost diversity. Now, this is a story that I find to be just utterly hilarious. And the reason for that is simply because of this. Google is screwing itself, right? We had the James Damore memo from last year, the AKA the Google memo coming out from AKA the Tech Bro. James Damore, a man who I saw in person just a couple weeks ago and who looks like he's 90 pounds soaking wet, who ultimately wanted to try to change the status quo at Google by approaching it from a biologist perspective, the differences between the genders, of how to make it more diverse and inclusive, thinking that could actually do it. And of course, he was pushed out of Silicon Valley for being the sexist, misogynist person that he is. Even like I said, he's like this most soft-spoken, sweetest person. And then this particular story broke, which just further shows you that Google is really having a rough time, because not only did this story break, there's another story where they're being sued by a female engineer who basically says that Google was discriminatory against her. So now we're really kind of coming into this whole he said, she said situation, and no one really knows what to make of it. But this lawsuit kind of does show you a bit of the situation involving the problem in Silicon Valley, where white men and Asian men do make up the top demographics. And I think right now, like the highest paid demographic in America are Asian men. Like they make the most money. And so they're now, because even though they are a minority, but they're the top dog minority, and they're not really a minority anymore in terms of this particular discussion, they are now being attacked. And it goes to show you that these people will literally eat themselves if they could. Now, Google has been slapped with a lawsuit by a former recruiter who alleges the internet giant fired him for complaining about hiring practices to boost diversity that says he discriminated against white and Asian men. Filed in San Mateo County Superior Court in January by Arne Wilberg, who worked as a recruiter for YouTube, the suit alleges that parent company Google set quotas for hiring underrepresented minorities. And this is the thing. Look, here's the thing. I've talked about this before. I really hate those kind of diversity hires. And it's one of the reasons, the reason why I hate those kind of hires is not that I'm like, oh, it should be white people only. Of course not. Of course not. I look at it from the perspective of this. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink. And if a person does not want to work there or does not want to work in that position, then trying to fill a quota is not going to make your workplace environment any better. Hence why we're seeing these lawsuits right now. That's a problem. Unfortunately, when it comes to Silicon Valley, because they're so invested in like social media, because that's where social media originated, and the largest voice, the loudest voice, the most annoying voice on social media is generally social justice warriors or the regressive left or just those extreme liberals, then they feel like they have to listen to them when they don't, but they feel they have to, even though we know, like the social commentators and you people watching at home, you know that these people, they never actually buy the product that they're complaining against. They don't go out there, they buy it. They really don't. So it's pointless to give in to their demands, but they still continuously do it. And YouTube's really done it. And if this is to be believed, which I do actually very much believe, that trying to have underrepresented minorities being the primary focus of a hiring, and for hiring engineers is, again, it sounds like YouTube. Now, Warburg also alleged that management deleted emails and other records of diversity requirements. He says he was fired in November for complaining to his managers and human resources about the illegal and discriminatory hiring practices. Google spokeswoman Gina Scagliano said the company will vigorously defend itself against the lawsuit. Well, of course it will. It has the money to. But ultimately, let's be realistic here. They're probably going to end up settling. Just like if James Damore can get a bit of a foothold, because he lost a labor board appeal, but he still has his other lawsuit, they might end up actually settling on that one. Susan Wojcicki made a comment that for 2018, they want to focus more on female creators. That they want to give a spotlight to people who they feel aren't getting the spotlight. And so they say, oh, women are underrepresented on YouTube. So we want to make sure that they've got more push, more sway. And the thing is, though, to people that, work at this as a full-time job. And they talk about this kind of stuff as a full-time job. Like, they know what it takes to do YouTube, and it's based a lot on how much effort you put into it, how much work you put into it, if you're any good, things like that. It's an entertainment-based system. So that's how the meritocracy levels work here. But trying to force feed people down a creator down someone's throat for the sake of diversity or inclusion, you really do a disservice to that person, because they don't earn what they get, essentially. Right? They don't earn what they get. They just come in off that popularity that a lot of people don't believe that they've earned it. Like, I'll give you an example. I'll use myself. A couple years ago, Gamergate happened. I had just about 17,000 subscribers when Gamergate hit. As a result of that, I skyrocketed up, and I've been going up ever since. And there are a few people out there that believe that I do not deserve the success that I have as a result of Gamergate, because I just rode that wave. But for those of you who know, I post videos pretty much every single day. I do live streams most nights of the week. I work for what I have. I feel like what I've earned myself. That's why when I got my 1,000 or my 100,000 subscribers Silver Play button, I freaking cried, man. Holy crap, did I just let the waterworks flow. And I'm totally fine with that, because I felt like I earned it. I would feel bad if, because I was given that, because of either my gender, my race, or my religion. And that's one of the things I hate about this kind of diversity hire, is that it takes away the person's right to fail. And it takes away their right to push harder, because it's handed to them. It's sad, because it doesn't need to happen. Now, she says here that we have a clear policy to hire candidates based upon their merit, not their identity. At the same time, we unapologetically try to find a diverse pool of qualified candidates for open roles, as this helps us hire the best people, improve our culture, and build better products. Does it? Because we're seeing a lot of crap coming out of Google and YouTube right now as a result of that. We're seeing a lot of crap coming out about that. And that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. So you got all that problem going on, and it's only going to bite you in the butt. Now, the lawsuit comes amid heated debate over the technology industry's efforts to increase low numbers of women, African Americans, and Hispanics in its ranks. To kind of point there, if you look at the types of, let's say for men versus women, not so much the racial breakdown. You've got out of every 5 computer science degrees, 1 goes to a woman, and there are 20% female hires at Google. Therefore, effectively, it is going in line on a 1-to-1 ratio with what is coming out of colleges and universities with those computer science degrees. So those engineers are kind of exiting at that rate, and Google is hiring at that rate. So, I mean, that's the whole point. That's what James Damore was going after. He wanted to find a way to change that in order to maybe bring in more women, and then maybe get more women into going to college to get the computer science degree. That is how you actually kind of work towards change, by suggesting something. But when he suggested it and he wrote it in terms of an engineer, and it got out and it went viral, and it was spun and twisted into this thing that was ultimately negative and used against him, he was let go. And we're seeing more things coming out even after that now with this particular lawsuit. So there are a number of factors involved with Google and YouTube that they do need to look into. But I would not say that trying to hide behind, oh, we really do like to resort to meritocracy, is a hill they want to die on, because they kind of, even though they say that, they go the other way too. Now, facing pressure to diversify its workforce, Google began publicly sharing data on a racial and gender makeup of its ranks in 2014. The Silicon Valley's company's attempts to re-engineer its mostly white Asian male demographics to include more women and people of color have put Google in the crosshairs in the nature's culture wars. And I understand why they want to do it. I do. I understand why they want to change things up. If you have more people from more different places, you can get, I think, a broader understanding of the world at large. And that might be what they're going for here. And I get that. But how they've gone about it is utterly ridiculous, and that's why it's in the middle of the culture war. Now, former Google engineer James Damore sued Google in January, alleging the company discriminates against conservatives and white men. Damore was fired last year for distributing a memo that argued Google's efforts to increase diversity were misguided, in part because of the biological differences between men and women. And this, look, that's a very simplified explanation of it, but at least it's playing it from a non-gendered perspective, right? If this was like this is USA Today, this was like Wired.com or TechCrunch, he'd said that women are inferior to men, right? With completely ignoring the context in the memo as to what he was getting to. Now, some Google employees who advocate for diversity and allege the company is not doing enough to protect them from harassment campaign by their coworkers following Damore's firing has subjected them to hateful comments and violent threats. As one former employee has sued for pushing back against racism and sexism, Google has also been targeted by a lawsuit and the Department of Labor investigation into whether it underpays women. So that's going to be the next fun thing to talk about. That really is. It's going to be the next fun thing to talk about. So if you want people to be equal, you got to treat them as equal, obviously, pay them as equals, obviously. But we know that when it comes to the tech world, white men and Asian men are the predominant ones who are attracted to that. More Asian than white in this particular regard. And as a result, they make more money and they've been in it longer and they've done their work. And then what happens is that people see, especially the social regressives, they see that people are doing better than them and they want a piece of that pie. And so they fight to get in. And then when they get in there, they see that it's too hard or something. So then they want to change, dumb down, and they want to meet it. That's kind of where we see a lot of this stuff. It's unfortunate. It's really stupid. And I'd very much like to see more people out there enter into STEM fields and through college if they want to, and to go out and to change the world for the better. But the thing is you have to look at it from very much a binary perspective, ones and zeros, right? You're chasing down the evidence of a hypothesis, of a theory, and you have to follow that wherever it may lead. But the problem is we're no longer looking at that from that perspective. Now it's from the, do we have enough women hired here in order to get this project done? I don't know if vaginal computing power is going to add to getting a new app made on the Chrome store or something. I mean, it might, if they were testing, a little gizmo you click on, you clip to the clitoris and then it judges how horny you are. I got no idea. It's stupid, to be honest. I will admit that was stupid. But ultimately, it's one of those things where if you want this, you should seek the best person. So to that, I will reiterate the part I like to reiterate the most, which is this. If you want to make sure that you look for the best person, take their resume, remove their name. That's it. Remove their name. Look at their qualifications. Then you pick based off of that. You don't know if they're a man. You don't know if they're a woman. You don't know if they're white. You don't know if they're black, Asian, Latino, trans. You know nothing. And then you can judge them based upon their skill set and what they've obviously lied about in their resume. That's how you do it. But because they don't want that, because they want to look like they are quote unquote woke, we're going to see more lawsuits like this and more BS out of the tech industry that ultimately doesn't need to be there.